because the way my algorithm is set up, I see women with two boyfriends or a husband and a boyfriend, but they're in a throuple and it's not necessarily a hierarchy. And I just love to see it. I love it for them. I really do. Welcome to the Generation Freedom podcast. I'm Nadie, I'm your host, and I'm a licensed professional counselor in Houston, Texas. Since starting my private practice, I realized I wanted a platform to share what I've learned on my journey to finding myself and my own freedom in a way that I can't do in session. So I started this podcast as a way to use my voice and expertise to share how I'm learning to improve my wellness and connection to myself every day. This platform is for you if, like me, you're working towards becoming who you truly want to be and the best version of that person. So expect to hear all things mental health, finding life balance, wellness, and interpersonal relationships. I really hope you enjoy the content on this podcast, but please know that what you hear on this platform is not intended to be a substitute for a relationship with a mental health professional. Okay, let's get started. Hey there. I have not talked to you guys in such a long time. I haven't spoken into this mic in such a long time. So I'm really excited to bring you guys this episode. Here on the podcast, we're all about wellness, and sexual wellness is one of those dimensions that I love. And if you know me, you know that I have a really big passion for sex therapy and sex positivity and a lot of things in and around non-traditional relationships and sex. So I think this is going to be a really fun episode because I've gotten some questions and some requests to do more sex content. So this is going to be our first venture into it. So what I'd like to do today is do a little bit of education and demystification of this very misunderstood topic. You know by the title already probably what we're going to talk about. And what we're going to do is explore different types of non-monogamous relationships. It's such a hot topic. We're going to talk about not every single type. I want to give you a good overview. So when you see conversations on the internet, you know the difference between polyamory and throuples and swinging, basically. I want to just run you through some of the basics. And also remember, this is about education, understanding, not sensationalism. This isn't like cutesy stuff. There are people that live these types of lifestyles. And I do think that it's important to try to understand more than we look for shocking content and stuff like that, because there are people that live like this and you probably know them, to be fair, but they don't talk to you about it because you're judgy and flabbergasted all the time every time someone talks about stuff like this. I want to see if I can help out in that regard. So I'm going to do my best to kind of make this complex world of relationships very clear. We're going to go head first into defining non-monogamy, and specifically the types of non-monogamy that we're going to be talking about today, which are ethical non-monogamous relationships. So let's define that for a quick second. Ethical non-monogamy. This term refers to consensual. Step one refers to consensual and honest, transparent relationships that involve more than two people. So it's really important to differentiate that, like the ethical part of non-monogamy, from cheating, which involves dishonesty and deception. So with ethical non-monogamy, all the parties involved agree to the terms and conditions of their relationships. They agree to be involved in this style of relationshiping. Next, we have what I think is one of the most popular hot topics of them all, which is polyamory, which I think most people that I encounter think that all types of non-monogamy are polyamory, and they are not. So let me tell you what it is. Polyamory is one of those words that has the Greek, Latin base words, poly amory literally meaning many loves. So this type of ethical non-monogamy, the individuals in the relationship engage in multiple romantic relationships or potentially multiple sexual relationships simultaneously. Again, with the knowledge and the consent of all parties involved, but this relationship style means that there are just multiple romantic or sexual or a combination of both. And they typically value that open communication. There's trust involved. There's a lot of emotional intimacy among the partners to have a relationship like this. Typically, you will see them, people that are polyamorous in full-blown long-term relationships, like not someone they're just casually dating. They are with multiple partners. So that's number one. Number two is a type of polyamory, which is hierarchical. This is a variation of polyamory where the relationships are sort of ranked. So they are in full-blown relationships, but there is a level of importance or priority placed on them. So typically you have like your primary partnership, for example, which may be the person you live with or the person you raise children with or the person you share finances with or something like that. And then you have your secondary and tertiary and so on level of relationships with others. You have to have very clear communication in relationships like this, boundaries to ensure, all the parties involved feel valued and respected. Because there's a ranking system, I feel like the hierarchical version is a lot easier for most people to understand and sort of air quote accept, because there is that ranking system that maybe we're used to and comes more naturally to even how we deal with our monogamous relationships. So that is just one subset. There are other types of polyamorous relationships, but that's one that I think people will connect the best to. So let me know if there are others you want me to talk about, or comment if you're listening to this on the Freedom Psychotherapy page. Drop a comment in the show notes and let me know who, what, when, where styles of polyamory that you're aware of other than the hierarchical type, or if there's ones that you want me to discuss. But just to keep it simple, polyamory, and then one subset is hierarchical. And then the next one is the throuple or the triad. I love a good throuple. This is a really fun type of relationship to me. I think that more and more people are coming out and sharing that they are in throuple style relationships online, and I just love to see it. Mainly because of my algorithm, because the way my algorithm is set up, I see women with two boyfriends or a husband and a boyfriend, but they're in a throuple and it's not necessarily a hierarchy. And I just love to see it. I love it for them. I really do. So a throuple, also known as a triad, like I said, is a relationship involving three individuals who are all romantically or sexually involved with each other. Some throuples take the form of a V-shaped relationship where it's the one person in the middle who is involved with the two others, but those two others are not involved with each other. So it is a V-shaped relationship. That's the kind that I've been seeing a lot online, and I love that for them. Like, come through with the multiple husbands and the multiple boyfriends. Like, please come through with it. And of course, you can have fully integrated relationships as well, where all three people share an equal bond. So you have all kinds of combinations there. V-shaped or fully integrated will probably, again, be the ones that you may be most familiar with or that you will see out in the world most often as you encounter these new types of relationships and people being more and more open about them. I don't think they're brand spanking new, but I think that we are getting more and more comfortable, and that's the part that I love. And like I said, like all non-monogamous relationships, just to reiterate this point, communication, trust, these things are all very key in relationships, period, but especially the style of relationships. You can probably bet that people in ethical non-monogamous relationships have the utmost quality of communication. And I know y'all don't like it. I know y'all want what's said, unsaid to be said and said to be unsaid. And, I shouldn't have to tell you I want flowers. You should just give me flowers. Like, I know y'all like that, but I'm telling you that this open and direct and honest communication is a game changer. Not meaning to say that like you'll suddenly want to participate in these types of relationships, but good communication really does change the quality of your relationships drastically. You guys don't even know, but that's kind of, just to be clear, all of these relationships do require that. So another favorite of mine, another type of relationship that is not, I think, as talked about, and is a little more nuanced, is the don't ask, don't tell, DATD. This kind of ethical non-monogamy is where partners agree to engage in relationships or sexual encounters outside their primary relationship without sharing the details with each other. So they do have an arrangement, which requires still that strong foundation of trust and clear boundaries and like mutual understanding of the reasons behind this agreement, but they don't want to hear about or discuss the details of what goes on. And I've seen some married couples like this, that this is kind of the form of non-monogamy that they do. They have agreed, it is very clear that that's the type of relationship that they have, but they don't care to hear about the other partner's, escapades and exploitations and things like that, which is also fine. So sharing the ones that I feel like people will find the most relatable, hashtag relatable, because I do think that that's something that a lot of people probably participate in and aren't as open about, or if non-monogamy is something that you're interested in, this could be an option as well. And then another type of non-monogamy that we've probably heard about is swinging, or the lifestyle, it's often referred to as. This type of ethical non-monogamy is where committed couples engage in recreational sexual activities with other couples or singles. The unicorn comes through for swinging couples. This is where you see like those clubs and resorts and events that are specifically for swingers. Like if you've ever heard of hedonism or any of those like clothing optional types of places, these are all where you might encounter some of those swinging folks. Swinging typically focuses more on just like the sexual exploration of relationships and sexual experiences. It's not as much about developing the emotional connections that some of the previous ones, like a throuple or polyamory, might be about with other partners. It's just more about exploring together as a couple and getting these new exciting experiences and spicing up their relationship more than anything else. When it comes to couples, like I said, all the communication things still apply. Emphasis on what's consensual and things like that is a little bit more paramount in a swinging relationship style. So that might be a slight difference. Obviously, it's consensual across the board, but because you're involving other people and you're doing things at the same time, you can imagine, hopefully, that, there's just a little bit more nuance to the communication process with a relationship style like that. I imagine it's super fun once you get it right and figure out everyone's limits and boundaries. Like, how fun. Okay, literally, how fun. And then as an honorable mention, I'll also talk about living a monogamish lifestyle. Monogamish, ISH. I'm throwing this in as an honorable mention because I think that it's just kind of a fun, intriguing concept, to be honest. And I learned about it from reading Shan Booty's book. If y'all follow her, Shan Boodram, I believe is her actual last name, but she's Shan Booty on Instagram, and her husband have a really fun podcast. But I learned from her book this term monogamish, and I think it was coined by Dan Savage, and basically it describes couples who are monogamous, primarily monogamous, and they just allow for an occasional, obviously agreed upon, outside sexual experiences. So it's monogamy, just like, with an asterisk, right? The thing about it is, as everything is open, consensual, blah, 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 as we've been talking about, and people that live a little bit more monogamish, they have boundaries that they define and they keep their communication open, and that way they can explore new experiences while still maintaining their primary style and primary connection. So it's not an all the time thing. It's very much occasional maybe again, they don't have full-blown partners or, polyamorous, like full-blown relationships or anything, but here and there, they discuss where it's appropriate to have other sexual experiences, which I think can be fun, to be fair. I think it's a cool concept and a lot of fun. So I throw that in there as sort of an honorable mention, because I do think that all of these different ways apply, all of these different styles apply in different ways and can be utilized in relationships in, I don't know, just so many different facets that I think people aren't always as open to seeing. It's not exactly as strict and, I don't know, weird as people make it seem on the internet. So I hope that we were able to demystify this ethical non-monogamy concept. We talked about polyamory, hierarchical polyamory, throuples, don't ask, don't tell, swinging, and of course the wavy concept of being monogamish. So no relationship style is better than another. None is better or worse than another. It's just important to recognize that people, individuals and couples, just have unique needs. Everyone has their own preferences, and there are just so many different ways to experience love, intimacy, and connection with other humans. And it's not as simple as I find my one person, or it doesn't have to be as simple as I find my one person and stick with them forever and ever and ever. And as you've seen as well, open communication, trust, consent, boundaries, all of these things are fundamental to being successful in these types of relationships. So if you're interested in exploring non-monogamy or just seeking to expand your understanding, it is vital to always educate yourself on these relationship styles and topics, and respect the choices of others. So do your research. I'm just giving you, like I said, just a brief overview, but definitely do your own research, read about it. I have some really cool books on non-monogamy and relationships that I can put in the show notes for you. Esther Perel writes amazing books on relationships, as well as The Ethical Slut is a really quintessential book if you are starting a non-monogamy journey. Like, that's probably the first book you need to pick up. So I'll throw those in the show notes for you guys with some affiliate links. And ultimately, I hope that you got some insight into this world of ethical non-monogamy and it's helped you start to dismantle misconceptions and stereotypes and all the things surrounding these types of relationships and the sexual aspects of them. And I hope you go further into researching this topic with curiosity, understanding, and empathy, and we create more spaces that are more inclusive and accepting in society for people that live different lifestyles from our own, or just ones that we aren't familiar with. So don't hesitate to leave any questions in the comments in the show notes, or shoot me a DM at freedomtherapy_ if you want to talk more about it or there's more you want me to share. So don't forget to share this episode with someone you think would benefit from it or would find it interesting, funny, or informative, any of the things. I hope that you come back next week for more content on interpersonal relationships, mental health, personal growth, wellness. And until next time, please stay open-minded and be kind to one another. Talk to you soon.